Hello, I'm just about ready. Just getting my iPad set up. I almost played a very different game. Well, not very different, but a different one. But I was like, nah, just stick with it. Just do it. It's like, it's really cool capturing like game footage from like my console. I'm like, no, I'm doing that. I kind of just stream everything, you know? One second. Dude, my allergies kicked my ass today. I thought you were switching games. I almost did. It was almost Paper Mario. But then I was thinking about the Grandia gameplay, and I was like, nah, I kind of want to doing this, like the combat. But yeah, it was almost Paper Mario. Or a 007 game on my PS2 that I'm quite fond of. James Fond. That was stupid. Are they gonna play RE1 again with surprise release? Another question? But you ended with a question mark. Oh, that's funny. I thought you were going to play RE1 again with a surprise release. What do you mean surprise release for RE1? Is there I don't know about? They dropped the original trilogy on Steam today. I bought them. I botted them. Nice. You remind me of that dude who narrated the Harry Potter books. He's like he pocketed his wand. Oh shit. All right. No. Even though, dude, I'm always down to play RE1. It's one of those games. It's just one of those games. But no, Grandia Xtreme. I kind of want to say it like that. I don't know his name, but he was that one dude on that shitty. I think it was E3. Boobies. Hey, what up? What up, Barrett? I think he did 99 Nights, and then they had no plan for his fucking showcase, so he just shows up. He's like, Xtreme. That pops in my head every time I think of Grandia Xtreme. Original RE1 is so good. I might actually learn to speedrun just for fun. Dude, do it. I've never like done the strats, but I've just rushed through it. But I think that's the one I'm capable of speedrunning. Nightwolf speedruns damn near every RE, if I'm not mistaken. Good job, Turkey. What up, Barry? Oh yeah. You have to if you want the fun stuff. Yeah, that's true. Like motherfucking Infinite Rocket Launcher. Or even, you know, the new ones. Those reward speedrunning too. Crazy competitive to do speedrun the OGs. So many talented runners. Yeah, dude, there's some people that like eat and breathe that shit. All right, game. Give me my screen back, please. This is the only thing I don't like about the RetroTink. The main reason I picked up Fatal Frame is like 3 people ever ran it. Nice. It did this last time, if I'm not mistaken. It just hangs on the God, you're so sexy. I know. But it's nice to hear it, so thank you. What the fuck is going on? Watch, I'm gonna get up and it's just gonna work. Try. just had to wiggle the cable a little bit. Always a good sign, right? Hola J Chulo. Hola chat, mi Principe Chocolate. What's up, bitch? I ain't no bitch. You ain't never gonna catch no chair. Catch me in no chair. Yeah, Grandia. Oh, hell yeah. That's funny. I think you're the only person here that, like, is interested in this game. But yeah, like I was saying, it was almost, I was tempted to put on Paper Mario. And then, low-key, I kind of wanted to play some of those PS2 James Bond games. But I was like, no, I gotta finish this before I even start thinking about other shit. Because I still got Onimusha. I'm losing interest fast in Final Fantasy V. I hope it's almost over. I can actually check that for you. What, in the second world, right? It just sounds so extreme. Third world? Oh, okay. Yeah, I think you're getting there. Oh shit, it was this one. Alright, and then I think we're going back. I think I came back just to save. Fucking leave. Oh. Are you setting out, sir? Go outside. Only 58 more worlds to go, and you'll be done with the tutorial. Nice. Can you imagine? Please take a good long rest, sir. You're not the fucking boss of me. Cool. You're definitely over the hump. You're probably in the last, like, third or quarter. 6? Except for 6? Well, he's gonna take a break for Monster Hunter after this, which pisses me off. 6 is so good. 6 is like the Final Fantasy X of the 16-bit era. Back soon, sir. Do be careful now. Oh yeah, Monster Hunter you're doing? Yeah, was it Retro? Somebody redeemed and they said Monster Hunter, and I was like, ah! Wait, is this the right lineup too? Let me check my party. Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, which is a 3DS one. Fuck are you? If you're heading to the Inferno Pit, take some herbs like Poison Antidote. Go on and be careful. Oh, do I have any? That's actually a good question. Poison Antidote. I got 2 of them. Let me go buy some more. Probably should. Why do I have to talk to you? Let me just go through the fucking door. He sounds like a Chad. Monster Hunter World is 10 out of 10. He must have gotten it from his mom because I'm a different kind of... Wait, what? My kid's into World, but he's retarded as fuck. He must have gotten it from his mom because I'm a different kind of retard. World is the one that got me into Monster Hunter. Like, I tried it before then, but there's something about World. It's very beginner friendly. And I'm a sucker for it. I know it's like a staple in RPGs, but I think World's the one that started it, the damage numbers. Or if I hit something, and I see like a big 53 fly off of them, I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. That's the feedback that makes my brain tickle. Skillman. I need the shop. Magician. It's over here. Oh. What the fuck is the item shop? It's like on top of the hill. It's right here. Yeah, Monster Hunter World was cool. I got Rise for free this month on PlayStation. For free. I you know, it's the game to download on PlayStation Plus if you subscribe. Wait, what the fuck is all this? How many of these do I have? Price is 12. Right. One at a time. Grandia let me buy more. Grandia 2. Oh. These elixir. I got one of the Monster Hunts for free when I built a PC. Let me see which one it was. It was probably World. I can't remember. The older ones have numbers, but I'm anti-number. I think number showing leads to min-maxing, which is less fun for me. Oh yeah, I got one for free. Nice. Hey, what up, Zara? No, I like that shit. Thank you for the lurk, Zara. It's less fun for you? Yeah. I guess it is a personal preference. I think you can switch them off in World, but I'm like fairly certain that it started with World. See, I like having that feedback. I like knowing if my shit's doing more or not, you know? Oh, wrong room. That's just me, you know? He's a good long rest, sir. Fuck you. Wake up! Back up! What up, Ken? I knew you were here. I can smell it. So you brush teeth and put a little makeup? Yeah. I do think it leads to less build variety and freedom since the game is meant for co-op. To get people, oh yeah, why are you using that sword to get whatever more? Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah. It encourages like that socialization. That's funny. Yeah, I think I worded it wrong. I haven't listened to that in a long time. It's grab a brush and put a little makeup. Yeah, I knew it was something like that. Sorry, that's my coochie juice. Just finished a FAP session. Damn. How'd it go? You have fun? Is the game too loud? It might be. Actually, no, I think it's good. Because different games can capture at different, like, audio levels for some reason. Or different consoles, I noticed. Oh, shit! That's funny, I did say brush your teeth. Game audio is fine for me. Good. Health check time. Describe the viscosity, coloration. I smell it feels dry in his DMs. For health, right? Just checking on the homie. Don't forget tastes. Tastes. Yeah, honestly, fuck. Oh shit. Great, now I'm tired, LMAO. Did it for almost 2 hours. I'm getting old if 2 hours is tiring me out. You fat for 2 hours? I only need like 2 minutes, dude. 2 hours sounds like a chore. For real, I've been pooping for 3 hours and I'm still good to go. I imagine like one like 12-meter turd coming out of Jay. Meter? Yards? Whatever you prefer. Pick your system. Jay's in the comment, he measures in feet. Fuck Jay. He doesn't know what he measures in. If I had 3 boxes of fiber bars for lunch. Wait, I had 3 boxes of fiber bars for lunch today? Is that like a protein bar but for fiber? It's like Metamucil? Is that the brand? It's like that but in bar form. Fiber helps you poop. No, I know what it does. I just helps all people poop. I just didn't know you eat that. But you are an old person, so makes sense. What's that noise? Oh, yes, the meter. The extreme meter. Fuck you. Back here. Bitch. Alright, bye. Oh, ah! Okay. I don't think these guys are susceptible to fire for reasons. You're calling me old has no power here. Yeah, that's fair. I'm just projecting. Oh, yep, I figured. Your words have no power here. You say kick ass? Kick ass. You'll just upset yourself? Yeah, for real. It's like I stare at the clock and I just start sweating, you know? Jasper Rosen is midlife crisis. I've been in midlife crisis since I turned like 30. Oh, he dodged, you bitch. I'm in peace getting older. I like having no social life and people mostly leaving me alone. It's a peaceful life. Sounds like cope to me. No, it's just... Do you really enjoy not having a social life? Or are you just exaggerating? Because like, I'm fairly shy for the most part, like outside of this bullshit, but I don't know, I like hanging out with my friends. Fiber is good, but it can either help me or fuck me over and constipate me. Yeah, fiber, it just adds bulk to the poo, right? Like, which helps you poop, of course. But there's other factors in there. Like, I think you get to stay really hydrated. It's another good thing. Like, I think I remember hearing something like more often than not, if you're constipated, I mean, there's various reasons, but one of the big ones is usually you're dehydrated. Oddly enough, I'm too socially awkward, LMAO. I too am socially awkward. Okay, I read that right. I just want to veg out and play video games. No, I do too. But I don't know. I value my friends. I like hanging out with them. God damn it. Oh, you can spawn more? Do you have any water damage? No. Fuck your friends. Okay.
You're all better now.
They're all assholes. Well, I mean, a couple of them, but you know, they're good people. Like you. I consider you a friend, and you are an asshole. I still fucks with you. Alright, who's you attacking? Yeah, dude, fucking just... Yeah, I'm cool, that's true. I love this battle system for an RPG, man. Like, Grandia has... What I got into... Because technically, I played Grandia 2 before I played any Final Fantasy, and I got back into Final Fantasies, like, down the line. Like in middle school and high school. And, I really like this battle system. Like, there was a time where I preferred this over Final Fantasy. In some ways, I still do. Yeah, my anemia again plays a factor. If I eat too much fiber, it would bind to the iron I need, which would then prevent me from pooping normally. Tell your colon and your intestines and your iron in your blood to stop being stupid. Oh, what did I say last time? I was like, eat more spinach. And what do you call it? Red meat. And eat some dick. I'm pretty sure there's some iron in there somewhere. She's lying. Just did too much anal and her rectum is all fucked up. You know, I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to say it. Oh, Jay, you know what's funny? So I archived one of my VODs recently on YouTube. And I got my first what do they call it? Age restriction? Age gating? What do they call it on YouTube? I forget, but I got my first one. I'm still not entirely sure what happened. It said sexual content and language, and I was like, that's funny. I was probably talking about like the snake titties too much or something. Or Can. I was reading Can. Or James Joyce. I don't know what it was. But it's funny. No one ever knows. YouTube is broken. Yeah, I heard it's gotten worse recently. Like, I've heard big channels are just straight up like not being shown in the algorithm or something like that. Like, the YouTube moneymakers, which is crazy. And even if you appeal stuff, it goes nowhere. It's like all just bots. So I saw the warning in my thing, and I was like, oh. What they really should do is show you what you did wrong, you know?
You guys are sloppy.
I'm a bot. Hey, what up, Cash Cow? How you doing, bud? They set the AI loose and they just started permanently deleting long-running channels for seemingly no reason with no recourse. Yeah, that sucks. If we're being honest, my asshole has not been conquered, lol. It's still in training by me, so no real penis has ever touched it. That's information we needed, you know? It's like, your butt is fucking like a Cinderella's glass slipper, you know? Hi, bot. I'm mentally exhausted. Alright, come over and I'll help you. Just don't wake up my mom. I'm gonna get in trouble. It's fucking funny, dude. Your mom comes down. What's that racket? And she finds out and she's like, can I join? I'm fucking weak. No! Wake up. Grab a brush. I put a little makeup. If you wake her, she'll pull out the strap on. Alright, I'm on my way. I'm gonna terrorize that booty. Oh wait, what's the line from that Bin Laden song? Terrorize that pussy. Terrorize that pussy. Where's the... There it is. How do you know she has a strap on, Jay? LMAO. I got her for her birthday, XXL. What the fuck? That's funny. I like it. I'm sure I limit and I approve these messages. Oh yeah! Only got... Oh, fuck. Hang on. Alright, like, wait. Who's first? You! Jay's lying. It was a hand me up. Hand me up? Yeah, it was his. Ain't no love like boy mom love.
Watch and learn.
Ain't that the truth? Oh shit. We got combos up in this motherfucker.
Cross break. Take this.
What do you do? Recover all? Nice. Cancel effect? Align? Okay. Terrorize that pussy. Oh shit. Damn. Swallow smash? That's like a can signature move. Got the Shat model? No Frenchie. Oh shit. Oh, I got the bigger one? Okay, that's funny. But that's never closing again, huh? Nah, the Bad Dragon model is what he got her. I don't know why I've said this before, but I imagine like right after you pull out and right before it seals, you just go like a bottle, you know, like a glass bottle. That's what we need to see. That's what the people want. I looked the site up. I'm a pervert, but y'all motherfuckers buying that shit need Jesus. Jesus. Wait, I think because they're floating, this actually might not work. I just attack him. Swallow smash.
This blow will split your skull. pieces.
Just send them your thoughts and prayers. Yeah, if I have thoughts and prayers in one hand and a pound of shit in the other one, which has more value? Fuck! I had to reload or something.
Be grateful it was me that did you in.
Skill experience, baby! So, my biggest gripe with this game so far is apparently there's one save spot in the entire fucking game. You know? It's that kind of dungeon crawler. Like, in, out. Save. If they were less expensive, I do think it would be funny to buy a couple of bad dragons and try to subtly put them in the background of my webcam during stream. But the joke isn't worth more than $100. Oh, they're that expensive? Damn. That is fucking funny though. Like imagine, like you just have a fucking the tentacle one. It looks like Day the Tentacle. I feel like Jay and maybe Paul are the only ones that would get that joke. I should stream Day the Tentacle. I always wanted to play that. I never did. I played Maniac Mansion like forever ago. Oh, it could be fun. I always wanted to play that, and Maniac Mansion never played either. I played Maniac Mansion in like it was because my friend actually had it on his NES, so I played the NES version. I didn't play the PC one. In like 6th grade, and I feel like I cheated because he had already beaten it, so he was like kind of helping. But if you have Day of the Tentacle, you have Maniac Mansion because it's in there. You play it on a character's pewter. Get back here! Oh. You can always go to a print shop and have them print a pic of one. And just like put the picture in the background. You should frame it. Said terrorize that pussy. Terrorize that pussy. Ah! I got hit. You guys remember that Jackass game with the high five? Yeah, the boom. Well, oh, the Jackass skip with the high five. Wait, what do you mean by skip? Well, apparently I do own Maniac Mansion. I don't even know when I bought it. Well, I had my face on one of the guys and replaced the hand with a giant dildo. Oh. It's like, just hit you with a big dildo. I think he meant skit. Yeah, that was in the first movie. I did, yeah. Yeah, I know the one. I'm retarded. No, I am too. It's okay.
Such a piece of cake.
You're among fellows. You're among your peers here. Okay, BB. Oh, speaking of retards, I just finished Tropic Thunder. So good, man. Yeah, because I wanted to watch it when your boy was talking about it, and I couldn't find it. I was like, where the fuck is my DVD? So I just bought another DVD. But it just ended. So what movie should I put on next? Should I put on like a Friday the 13th? Like a spooky? I should probably put a spooky on, huh? Oh shit, Dry's playing a good game. What's Dry playing? Is the Bad Dragon site? Did you see the werewolves asshole one? Jesus Christ, Dusk. What's Dusk? That's not the sci-fi one, is it? Need to turn that off. No, but I'll check again. Blaster bomb.
This blow will split your skull.
Every time I start Rocket League, Jay starts sending me nudes asking him to stream it. Funny. I believe it. Like if Jay was a Pokemon and I caught him, I'd look at his lineup of like moves and he's like, oh, I just asked for nudes. And eats. Yeah, these are nasty as fuck. The wolf mouth is pretty cool. Jeez.
Okay, here it goes.
Like, I'm not one to kink shame, usually, unless it comes to like furries or I don't know. That's probably the big one. But I don't know, man. I've seen some of those bad dragons. I'm like, oh damn, how do you fit it in there? Wolf butthole is 110, and I doubt that includes shipping. You're just a bitch. That's vanilla. You know, I'm tired of the vanilla slander. Vanilla's delicious, okay? Like, I get the joke, but I don't know, man. I kind of prefer like vanilla ice cream, you know? Of the big three, you know, like chocolate, strawberry. Well, actually, strawberry has its place too, but vanilla. I fucking love vanilla. I like chocolate. I like turtles. Welcome back, Nightwolf. Now, are you named after the MK character? Ah, ads. Well, maybe we're so fucking cheap. You wouldn't deal with it. Give me money, Ken, and all the ads will go away. See, I think I'm progressing. I don't want to. Oh shit! Oh shit! Are there enemies in these? God damn! Oh shit! Yeah, I feel like this is definitive. Let me go back. I'll come back. I'll come back. Because I don't want to miss anything. And these honestly, these dungeons are way better. Like, these are the best dungeons so far. Which is good, because that's the, I guess, main appeal of this fucking game. But, yeah. Because I hated them in 1. They're fine in 2. They're kind of easy to just get through. And this one, it feels like they put some thought into it. Oh yeah, I need to think of the movie. I don't want to close my eyes. I don't want to fall asleep because I'm watching Shattered Limit, and I don't want to miss a stream.
Yeah, baby, I am.
You tired, boo boo? Well, that's too damn bad. Put on Armageddon. Oh, I actually don't. I don't think I have Armageddon. I actually really like that emo. I think I had that one too. I think I got that in like hype train or something like that. Or does that belong to someone we know? Is it like one of yours? But yeah, I don't think I have Armageddon. When I think about it. Yeah, that would be perfect to put on. That's like a fucking 2.5 hour movie. That movie's long as shit. Also, dude, I have not seen Armageddon all the way through in one sitting since I was literally like in the single digits of age. I was like 9. Joey makes me so thirsty. Hey, I have that effect on people. What up, Paul? How you doing, man? I almost played something else. Sorry, I'm not. Doing good. Superman does good. You're doing well. That's what my teacher used to tell me. And I used to be, don't come to school tomorrow. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, back. Anyway, I like Neapolitan ice cream too. Very yummy. It is pretty good. Armageddon is good, not great. Fun every once in a while. Well, we started it at a friend's house once. We all got like drunk after like sushi. We were hanging out. And they put it on, and it's funny. We got halfway through it. I always leave at the same part when they fucking take off. Just right is Rocket Leaguing? Ew. Don't do that. Save him. also like the HUD, the you know, just the interface in this game. Yeah, I'm getting SP like crazy though. When you combine Neapolitan with either Sprite 7-Up, they make a float yummy too. I've never tried that before. That sounds like it could be good. I like root beer floats. I don't know if you guys remember that one guy, Cyberlike, and he used to Rocket League. He also used to stream, and he also used to be in my streams. I miss him. That was just crazy enough to work. Yeah, it does actually. I would try it. Oh damn, they're targeting him. Yeah, it sounds like one of those things where I'm like, hey, you gotta try it, man, and you do it, and you're like, oh, that's not bad. Even though I'd probably go for Starry instead. Fuck, I was hoping that would cancel or counter.
Watch and learn.
Oh shit, what are you doing? Nightmare Ball?
Go to your rest.
Oh. I'm glad they're faster here. I kind of wish it was an option or like a sometimes thing, but I do miss the more the extra fucking magic scenes. No, you. What up, Jay?
Such a piece of shit.
No one drinks Starry. What the fuck is wrong with you? Really? You guys aren't fans? I like Starry. I like Starry. Fuck you. I don't know where to go. Never even heard of Starry. So what happened was there was like a lawsuit or something with Sierra Mist. Like I think there was like an actual person named Sierra Mist or some shit. Is it a black thing? Kinda. Kinda. And I think like they were ordered to change the name. So while they were at it, I think they changed the formula. So they discontinued Sierra Mist and they made Starry, which I actually quite enjoy. Star will always be Sierra Mist to me. It's literally a different formula, different soda. Yeah, Sierra Mist tastes like ass, and it was a branding problem. Yeah, something like that, right? Like, wasn't there somebody named Sierra Mist? Right? I thought I heard that somewhere. Sierra Mist was okay. 7-Up is the best. 7-Up and Sprite are good. Of the two, I have no preference. Oh shit! Should have done that. Oh, it works. Down, motherfucker! Yeah, Starry's pretty good. You should try it. To be honest, I'll take Canada Dry over all the above. Canada Dry's good. Ginger ale. Fucking hipster. Wait, Well, I'm gonna need her attack. I want to see if this actually starts over. Also, why is my SP up like fucking up to wazoo right now? And the dry fucks? Yeah, it does. I do love Squirt, unless you mean the soda. Very nice. I see what you did there. Hey! Nice. Yeah, nice. Damn, dude, this map is... I'm gonna do the Riley Reid meme. That it's so fucking big. Ah!
This blow will split your skull.
Cancel.
Is everybody okay?
Also, I love the consistent music or magic sound effects throughout the series. You remember when Riley Reid did a rap song? Yeah, what up, big boy? Yeah, I streamed it. It was during my Sly Cooper stream. I remember it vividly. Paul, what do you hate more, this or 2D Final Fantasy? I feel like you would hate Final Fantasy more, but I don't know. Probably this because it's like slightly older, or I mean younger. This. You hate this more? Bitch, why? No, that's fair. This is no Final Fantasy. But it is good. You're tripping.
Can you take it?
Did you know, Paul, that I almost streamed a different game today? You're probably like, why the fuck didn't you?
Piercing winds come forth.
Just you two. God damn it. Why is my SP so high?
Okay, here it goes.
Jay, what's your take or opinion on this so far? Movie, were you guys just, wait, were you guys talking about the live action Mortal Kombat movie, or was I just spacing out? You are spacing out.
As long as we
Oh, wait, you're high as fuck. Yeah, last movie, oh, I mean, a while ago I was asking what movie to put on, but Mortal Kombat never came up. But you did remind me, I should put something else on. Here's my Tropic Thunder DVD, it just finished. Here. It's important, okay? Atmosphere. Like big tome, a book, spellbinder of DVDs and Blu-rays. Let's see. Oh, that reminds me, I need to talk to Bloody Bastard. Oh, what for? Is he gonna do something for you? 'Cause he does a lot of like Blender stuff. If you ever need any of that. Oh, I'm gonna put Lord of the Rings on. Fuck you, bloody! You bloody bastard! I remember it froze at a part last time I tried watching this DVD, so fingers crossed. I got so excited when I recognized it. Oh, hold on. I was in an Uber with an old Polish Russian driver the other night, and he was playing Eastern European music of some kind, and that song from his Redeem with the guy dancing to the banana hammock came on. Dancing in a banana hammock? I know that name. Oh, that guy. I know the one. That's funny. Yeah, that song. Yeah. Banana hammock. Is that what that's called? That's funny. When I was in the Uber, and you know, sometimes I'll have like TVs in the back to, like, advertise some bullshit because I think they get a cut, like advertising revenue or something. And they were cutting through like different things you could do in Vegas, and there was one like a screenshot of like gambling, you know, swimming or whatever, and they showed getting a massage, and it was just a screenshot, but I was like, I've seen that. It was from a porn. Like the first 30 seconds, I was like, how do I know this weird European song? Defensive leveled up. Hell yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, you should tell him. He'll get a kick out of that for sure. I'm sad Paul hates this more.
This blow will split your skull.
Don't worry, I almost hate old ass. I hate almost all old ass JRPGs. Highlights everything. I bet he hated old SMT games the most. See, and I don't want to screw myself like I did in Grandia 1. Like, I should be using magic too, you know? Like now, so I can develop it. No, actually, use your special. I used to watch this streamer that played a lot of Resident Evil games. I like those. I'd like to develop that ass. Nice. I might do a Requiem stream. If you really want, I can do it.
Okay?
I know a guy. I can make that happen. No, don't do it. Yeah, that's another thing. I want Requiem for a Dream. Nice. What's a Resident Evil stream without Jay there, you know? Do it, pussy. I mean, I already beat it on my own time a few times. And... oh, nice. There's other games I want to stream. Joey likes the OG games, so the Requiem for a Dream 64. You know, I almost streamed, I said it earlier, but Paper Mario? Real hardware, baby! Ass to ass, then you furiously spin the F64 stick. Oh man, don't threaten me with a good time. I'm in. Son of a bitch, I'm in. Can I look at the whole map? Is there a map button? Oh, whoa, nice. I can zoom in a little bit. Oh shit, there's an item over there. Super Mario RPG fucks. I never played all of Super Mario RPG. Paper Mario is fine. Paper Mario would have been way better choice than this. I don't know, man. This game's great. You guys are crazy. I would actually love to stream Mario RPG. Because it's funny, like I said, I like Mario RPGs, but I've only played fucking Mario and Luigi, like those games, and then some of the Paper Marios. And actually, Paul has requested some games, like Signalis. What else have you asked for? Mostly horror. Song of Horror, I think that was one you might have mentioned. Crow Country, I already streamed Crow Country. Fantastic game. No, it is. I liked it a lot. It's like a 4-hour game, but I liked it. Paul and your boy don't understand how tackling a giant hostile maze full of shit trying to kill you tickles the autism just right. It does. It does. Yeah, that was a great stream. I loved it. Oh. All right, I'll take that in consideration. Let me wet my RPG whistle a little more. And I can switch over to something else. Not now that I started this, I want to finish this. I definitely want you guys to enjoy the games I'm streaming. You know? And you said you wanted to play Reanimal? It'd be kind of cool. And I got the idea that you wanted that, like, off stream? That could happen too. I mean, for mostly for the hair, play whatever you want. Wink. No, I want my whole audience to walk away being like, damn, that was good. Oh shit, she's actually out of SP now. Finally, fuck. Pubic hair? Nice. Nice. I was saying collab stream, Reanimal looks fun. Best stream ever. Had to be the thing, right? It was good until those like 2 missions. I fucking hate those 2 levels. But yeah, man, would you really want to do a collab stream? A Reanimal? I'm down. How much is that going for? Is it? It's not full price, is it? Yeah, for sure. Hell yeah, man. The thing was the best. Run it back. I could possibly be convinced to stream the remaster. Fucking bitch. Yeah, Reanimal does look cool. Because like I've also wanted to do a Little Nightmare stream. It's full price now. Just wishlist it and we'll play when it's on sale. Let me do it now before I forget, so I can get that reminder. Because it does look good, and I like Little Nightmares 1. I could stream 2, and maybe 3 even. But yeah, let me add this to my wishlist real quick. Real quick. Oh, nice. All the Resident Evils are $5. Yeah, you're right, Jay. $40 is not full price. At the cart, no, not at the cart. At actually, shit, maybe. Season pass. Is DLC? Does the deluxe edition include everything? What's in the deluxe edition? I'll grab those. Dino Crisis 1 and 2. I assume to play Dino Crisis 3 too. Yeah, you do. Also, I saw you get Dino Crisis 3. That game fucking sucks. What's wrong with you? The hell's the matter with you? Add to wish list. All right, cool. I liked it. That's weird. Like, I get it. I know I have the reputation of like liking things that people don't, but damn, dude, that game is broken. The camera is more dangerous than the fucking dinosaurs. I want you to just, cause you already streamed Dino Crisis 1, right? Is your VOD somewhere? Is it on YouTube? I remember running it a couple times on Xbox. I only remember liking it, nothing else. Well, I hope you do like it, but I imagine it's one of those cases where like, okay, for example, as a kid, I used to love Beetleborgs, you know, and Power Rangers and shit. And then as an adult, I was like, oh dude, Beetleborgs is on Netflix. Let's watch some Beetleborgs. Retarded things I've ever seen. I was like, damn, dude. The dumbass kid. I think Dino Crisis might be before I saved all my VODs. Not sure. Might redo it. It's short. It's pretty short. And just do it on easy, man. Trust me. I know you'll like it more on easy. Because like the enemies do, I think they do like replenish after a couple points in the game. Like I know it appears to respawn. I don't think they technically respawn. I think it just repopulates after certain like story beats. I could be wrong. But my point is it's easier to stomach on easy because it just plays literally more like Resident Evil. And that's a good thing. I believe they fully respawn. Alright, well, I'll stream it and then we'll find out. Actually, dude, I haven't played through that game in forever. Like at least like 12 years. This is the last time I played through it. Goes kind of hard, man. No.
Go to your eternal rest.
What else? Because there are games on my list, if you will, you know? Like, I really do believe Onimusha might be after this. It's just, you know, I love Grandia 2 so much. I had to get through 1 to get to it, and now that I finished it, I'm like still kind of fucking high on Grandia. That's why I'm playing this. So we'll see how I feel after. It would be kind of funny if I actually do stream 3 after this, and it turns into like some unintended marathon. But we'll see. Because I played about half of this. I never actually got more than an hour into 3. Do it. I might. Hey, what up, Frenchie? How you doing, man? I probably will. If there's actual like demand for it, or if I'm still goo goo gaga for Grandia after I beat this, I'll probably do it. Fuck! Frenchie, no one was talking about your dick and whether it's not huge. Hi. I call it the baguette. We're getting to friendship and dick sizes. Hey, what up, Travie? Got Travie and Can here? And Jay? We have a horny ass stream. What's up? Hey, how you doing, man? What are you up to tonight? I am not horny. I only say that because you asked for nudes. Being sick, can't sleep. Send nudes. Nice. Wait, did you say that before or after I said about asking for nudes? Help me feel better, dude. Being sick sucks. I thought I was sick today, but I'm pretty sure it's just allergies. The wind has been crazy and all the trees in here are sprouting now. They keep abusing these moves. Spring is here. Gross. I heard fapping helps you feel better. Explains why I feel amazing right now. Spit in my mouth. If you're really sick, get a good friend to stroke it for you so you don't overexert. That's good. That's a good tip right there. Pro tip. I just beat my shit twice since I've been here. You're pretty quick. You're a speedrunner. Oh shit, he's about to attack. You'll be asleep in 2 minutes. You bitch. Leave her alone. Poison. Triggers, I'm always hard, Cap. Oh no, that's my secret, Cap. I'm always hard. Nice. I love that dancing Leon. Oh yeah, there's your dancing Jill is in there for you. I couldn't find PS1 or PS1 Jill, but there's remake Jill in there. I'll do another look and see what I can find, and then maybe I'll add that one instead. Oh shit, yeah, we both need SP for that. I need enemies are left. Let's attack him, Joey. Never kidding with needing poison antidotes. Wish people yelled their attack names IRL. UFC would be way better. That'd be pretty cool, man. Right hook! Fireball! I agree. Also, I feel like this game's gonna be long because like I feel the need to like, if I can help it, like search everything, you know? That's where I came from. Yeah, that's where I came from. So now I think I can proceed where I was going originally. Is this way? That would be pretty cool. Oh, dude, I was playing a fucking WCW N64 game yesterday. I was having a lot of fun with that thing. Gotta fully search every dungeon. Yeah, if you can. You find all the little nooks and crannies. All the secrets. No chest left unopened. Yeah, it was WCW versus NWO. It wasn't the good one. Everybody likes is it World Tour? Yeah, because I have Revenge. What's the there's that series, there's like a third one. But yeah, I was having a lot of fun with it. And I had to play as my boy Chris Benoit. Oh wait, this is the good one. Because there's World Tour, and then yeah, I have Revenge right here. Is he the murder suicide guy? Yeah, that's him. that's our boy. And then I saw Eddie Guerrero was in there. Eddie Guerrero was my guy. Eddie Guerrero was the shit, man. Muku. Sounds like a Hawaiian food. Were you I can see you being mostly into boxing, which is a thing. I always love Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels is good too. Shawn Michaels is like a goat. One of the goats. But I can see Jay being into wrestling as a kid. I think everybody was into wrestling as a kid. And even now, dude, one of my friends, what's his username? Solid 101. He still watches wrestling. Even though it's expensive now, you have to like subscribe to ESPN and like 18 other things. But the Attitude Era was the best. Oh, 100%. I watched some. I wouldn't say I was into it. Okay, but as a child, I was into it. But my point is dude, grab a 6-pack, smoke a bowl with some friends, and watch Royal Rumble, dude. Tell me that's not a fucking good time. Get the fuck over here. I need more range moves. Area effect. You think wrestling is expensive? Try being an NBA fan. That's fair. What do you have to subscribe to be in the NWA? NWA. I wanted to say NWO. The NBA. He's the right color. Oh. Nice. Well, of the big ones, I could watch some basketball. But it's like football, baseball, nah, not quite my tempo. And the cool thing about like NBA is like the score, you know, like the end of a match, it's like 130 to like 90 or something. You watch hockey, it's like, oh, it's 1-0. Like, oh, that was exciting. Weird contracts, you need like 2 or 3 services. I'd probably pay $350 a year to watch basketball. Then another like $5,000 to go to a couple games, but floor seats because I'm kind of a big deal. You could afford floor seats, huh? Oh, that part is true. I go to the Portland game and get floor seats. Hell yeah, man. That's dope. Damn! I canceled, but that guy's fucking beefy. Holy shit. Let's hope we do a little bit more damage than that.
I'll cut you in 2. Beware the black wall.
Damn! No, This one.
Come on, come on!
The fuck?
I'll chop you up.
New move. Who dis? Hell yeah.
Cross break. Take this.
Yeah, man. The Grandia series has some of the best RPG combat. Changed my mind. Finished by feet. Let's do this one first. Yeah, dude, the dungeon design here is pretty good. Oh, I can't. Fuck. What the fuck? Which turn-based RPG has the best combat? I mean, there are arguments for Final Fantasy, you know, Dragon's Quest, but I think this is the best mix of just turn-based and actual like timing, you know, because there's like a queue at cast time, and you can interrupt, cancel, and the game rewards you for being able to do that kind of shit. But you're also just as susceptible to it. So it's like, do I attack? Do I block? Do I risk it? You know, you definitely convinced me to play these games, but this one interests me the most so far. That's fair. More than 3. Or just the ones you haven't really seen. I still think Final Fantasy Tactics gotta be number 1. Oh, that is a turn-based RPG, technically. Oh! I can stream Tactics if you want. I think, actually, you asked me to stream it, didn't you? Am I tripping? I could do that. 10 or 12? Yeah, dude, those are all good, man. I didn't say the best, I said one of the best. Or did I say the best? I didn't mean to if I did. Yeah, I love Final Fantasy Tactics. Dude, I haven't played it in a long time. It would actually be fun. But I wouldn't be mad if you did something less JRPG next. I think I'm just on an RPG kick. I haven't really played any of these in a while, you know? I think that's a big thing. And I played one that I genuinely love. Only 6 and 7 before Tactics for me. So I'll be on it soonish. Or Yakuza? See, I don't even know if I have time to stream a Yakuza. those are long. I mean, those games are as long as you want them to be, but it's like, if you play Yakuza for 20 hours, you're doing it wrong, man. No, you do everything in Yakuza. Yeah, exactly. Which is why it's like 150 hours. And you know what's funny? I've only beaten 0, and I loved every minute of it. You know what? You know what I'm gonna stream? I actually have a Yakuza adjacent game. I might stream. If you didn't spend at least 5 to 10 hours just fucking around in the arcade, you're playing it wrong. Yeah, exactly. I need to race my fucking little RC cars. I need to fucking min-max my whorehouse. That's my favorite minigame in 0, by the way. The fucking cabaret. How do we get over there? Okay. Well, I'm glad you're at least interested in this one, Jay. Your boy gets shot, you just go, hold up. Hey, I'll get you after 2 weeks of car racing. Yeah. Sorry, I missed that. Yakuza's good. Yakuza's good. And I own all of them up to Judgment. So I have 0, Kiwami 1, 2. I have the PS4 remasters of 3, 4, 5. And I think I have 6 and 7 separately. But I own them all. And then I have Judgment. And maybe Judgment 2. And then I was given 7. Which is like, I think... Is 7 the first one where it became like literally a JRPG? Like a turn-based JRPG? Because I have the first one of those. The writing in Yakuza doesn't get enough credit. It's incredible how well they keep a crime epic tone while being goofy as fuck. Yeah, dude, I don't know how they managed to do that balance, but they mastered it. I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about. And I agree.
Full silence, evil ones.
Did you guys ever see that Yakuza movie? Was it any good?
Restore, restore!
Nice. Thanks, Spatch. I did not. It sounds too woke. I heard it had an Asian. Yeah, there's a couple of them in there. Oh. Oh, it's her. I thought it was... Okay, that's funny. Let's do you.
Okay.
Speaking of woke, Jay Conquers watched Sinners already. I hope he likes it. You know him better than I do. Do you think he'll like it? I know he should like it. I don't know if he will. No, he'll hate it. I can already think of one thing that's gonna upset him. But it's the best movie in a long time, and he claims to be a cinephile. Yeah, I'm curious on what his like honest opinion of the movie would be. Oh shit, there's a... Oh, I thought I saw a monster up here. A monster! How do I get over there? I climb up? I do. But not yet. Ah! Get back here. I knew I saw something. It looks good, but you have a history of massively overpraising that director. I need to see more of his work. To be honest, I've only seen the Black Panther movies and oh wait, no, what's the fucking the subway one where homeboy gets shot? I forgot what they called that one. Platform something? That's not right. And then Sinners. I like his stuff. But I need to see Creed. But I have to watch all the Rocky movies before I see Creed. But yeah, like I said, I'm glad you're interested in these games. Especially this one, because I think this one's considered the black sheep. Oh, Jesus Christ. Creed is very good. Not as good as the first 3 Rocky movies or Rocky Balboa. Oh, is Rocky Balboa supposed to be good? But probably better than Rocky 4 and way better than Rocky 5. I liked Rocky 4 for the wrong reasons. It's a very cheesy movie, and I like cheese, you know? It's funny, but I know, I think I can recognize it as not great. I love the contrast of, is it Drago? What's his fucking name? And, Rocky. Black Panther was a 6.5 out of 10 comic book slot movie that got nominated for Best Picture because black. It's more than that, man. What is that? Oh, nice. The button or like a Starbucks shortcake? What is that? It's really not more than that. It never even tops a list of best Marvel movies, but it's the only one that was up for Best Picture. I'm curious of what other Marvel movies you would nominate for Best Picture. I mean, personally, Winter Soldier fucking fucks, dude. And Infinity War. I'm trying to think of one I stepped away from. I was like, damn. Thor Ragnarok. Not Best Picture, but that was good. I would nominate none for Best Picture, but there are at least 5 or 6 better than, well, there's 5 or 6. I'm just, this is a MCU specific question. I'm just curious about your opinion on a couple of them. We don't talk Marvel often. Just block. Guardians 3? Guardians 3 is good. Guardians 3 made me cry a couple times. Like 2.5. I cried 2.5 times when I saw that movie. You can play with my heart like a goddamn fiddle. Yeah, dude, that movie's so fucking sad. Yeah. Iron Man 1. Avengers 1, Winter Soldier, Civil War, Guardians 1. I think Guardians 1 is still my favorite of the Guardians, but 3 is definitely up there for me. Infinity War, those were on the top of my head, but I know there are way more I would put over Black Panther. I came 3 times when I saw that movie. Yeah, I came out of my tear ducts.
How'd you like that?
I think you could probably claim Endgame or Ragnarok are as good or better than Black Panther. Those are top 3 for sure. Civil War should be an Avengers movie in itself. It basically is. I think they advertised it even as like Avengers 2.5. I think that's what Anthony Mackie was trying to say. No. Get back up there. God damn it. I miss when you played Grandia 2 so I could say more like Grandia Poo. Didn't you have, like, you said like XP or what the fuck did you say last time I started this? I never started Guardians 3 because I bowed out after Endgame. I need a 10-year Marvel break. I get it. But there are, because I do understand the, god damn it. Marvel ain't what it used to be for the most part, but 2 things. 1, there are still some outliers that are good post Guardians, like Spider-Man No Way Home, fucking slaps. And Guardians 3 is a banger. But one of my favorite things about, I guess, the MCU in general right now is just it resembles the comics, you know? It's like these characters show up over there. It's just, why can't I pick it up? And that fucking battle scene in Endgame, dude? Stuff of Legends right there. Why can't I use that? Why can't I pick it up? Is my inventory full? Damn it! They brought back the fucking max inventory. Fuck. Yeah, but it resembles 2020 comics, not good comics. New Wonder. Wait, what the fuck? Bro, Daredevil. Oh, I haven't seen Daredevil since season 3. No spoilers, please. I don't know what that means, though. New Wonder? I don't know what you're talking about. But, no, it resembles fucking early 2000s comics. Even the Ultimate comics, which I argue a lot of ways are just better. But, no, I get it. It's just not your cup of tea. You don't like Marvel. Or you're overexposed. Daredevil's still blind? It's not like I don't like Marvel. You don't get it. No, I get it. I'm just being facetious with you. I don't know. I like Marvel, so I'm there. I'll be there. Spider-Man looks good. I'm cautiously optimistic about Doomsday. We'll have to see on that one. I just don't know. I hate that they're introducing Doom in like he's the big bad in like an epic Marvel movie, and it's his introduction. He needs like 5 fucking movies before this. I like all comics. Good. Yeah, I'm pretty annoyed that they brought back the fucking limited inventory. I did not know that. This one. Good. Slurp up all the slop. Standards are bad for corporations. Like what you are told to like. Consume.
There's no way we could.
I mean, it's possible to just like things, you know. It's not that we're like it because we're told to. I feel like you. I don't know. Like, I don't know how to word it. On it. Nice. There is genuine enjoyment that people have with these movies, even though, yeah, it's corporate greed and slop. But I don't know, good taste. I like the flavor. Why are you running? Why are you running? Yeah, but just liking everything is why things get worse over time instead of better, or everyone has standards and the studios will be forced to do better. I mean, I don't... Like the 50th time, I don't like everything. But, no, I get it. I do think there is value in how much money these things make, so when they do bomb, you know, sometimes it is deserved. But yeah, you vote with your money, so it's like if these movies start bombing, they'll do better. But I do think that sometimes the damage is done. Like there's a bad one, and then the next one, even though it's better, it underperforms because people didn't watch it, you know? So it's such a silly overused term right now. Yeah, it's like woke. It's okay for some movies to be big budget spectacle entertainment. It doesn't mean that they're made without any thought or care. Yeah, like Avatar. Fucking love those movies. I mean, that's why I say, and I know it's a tired thing for Jay to hear right now, but like, you know, it's like, no, everything has to be the Godfather. It's true. Sometimes you just enjoy the pretty colors. I do get it though, you know. But also, just because Marvel makes money doesn't mean like, you know, the next fucking A24 or whatever art house movie is it going to be well received. Avatar 1 is an abomination. I love good art house movies too, but there's room for both. 100%. That's fine if you don't like Avatar. I ate that shit up when it came out. And then there's Sinners, which delivers on every level. Sinners is so fucking good, man. And then there's that fucking... I don't want to ruin it, but there's a scene that's like... It could have easily stepped into being fucking stupid, but it elevates the movie in this way where I was like actually in awe. It's the scene. If anybody's seen it, they know, but don't talk about it because Jay hasn't seen it yet. Oh, just attack. Just attack. Looking forward to the new Supergirl porn parody. Have they already advertised that one yet? Which one's attacking next? You. I like when she spits in his mouth. Like, that's the scene. That's a good scene. Jay's gonna watch Sinners. Too many black people.
Such a piece of...
I know, right? If they were white, he would have been seen it. Fuck! Dude, I didn't know there was max inventory. I gotta get rid of these. That's That's fucked up. Alright, yeah. Can I get rid of these? Because these are only C's. No. Lame. I did. It's called From Dusk Till Dawn, and it came out 30 years ago. It is not From Dusk Till Dawn. Two very completely different movies. Like, it's an oversimplification. Oh, and I have to change my inventory at the fucking dungeon. Damn it. Oh, no, I can do it here. I'm a little annoyed. I thought I had infinite inventory again. This might be a problem later. Oh shit, that did surprise me. I'm just gonna call it Sinners is better because it handles its allegory well. It really does. I feel like Jay's gonna walk away and call it Sinners. Quentin Tarantino is known as a terrible writer. Is he? No, use the hard R when you say sinners. I bet Jay we're talking about, so he's gonna say that hard R anyway.
How'd you like that?
Oh shit. No, Jay is being sarcastic, but also pretending to like Dusk Till Dawn. Pretending like Dusk Till Dawn is his masterpiece is kind of dumb. It's good, but Sinners is a better movie.
You're a little too weak for the likes of us.
But Jay also did say that when a movie that's good gets praise, he's turned off on it. Which I think is stupid, but it's whatever. I never said it's a masterpiece, but it's a great film. Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez are both more talented than Coogler. Not like that. Wait, who's moving? Okay, that was her. Oh, I should have healed. No, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Let's attack who's left after this.
Vroom, vroom, vroom.
Oh shit. You bitch. Oh, nice. I need to watch Sinners again. Yeah, it's pretty good. I saw it in theaters twice. I saw the Artemis launch yesterday from my backyard. Oh, I keep forgetting you're in Florida. Nice. How'd that go?
Yahoo! We're so great.
Nice. We're gonna start leveling up soon. So lame. Can't. God damn it. I wish I could drop them. Oh, I can. There you go. They didn't crash yet. Ask the was it the Challenger? It's always the re-entry that seems to strip people up. Or launch. Yeah, never mind. Because wait, no, there was one that blew up at launch, and then there was the one that blew up over Texas. What was that one? Was that Challenger? Or like Columbia? Something. It was a C word, right? I didn't know I could actually throw away. That's good. Oh shit. I thought the Apollo 13 crashed. I don't think it did. They survived. Did it? Oh no, they did. Exploded 2 days into the mission, disabling its electronical and life support system. The crew, supported by backup systems, instead looped around the moon in a circumpolar trajectory and returned safely to Earth. No, there were issues, but they lived. Challenger and Columbia. Yeah, I said both. Yeah, Challenger is the one that took off in like the 80s and now it exploded. And then, yeah, Columbia in 2003 exploded on re-entry. Oh shit, I can save. What does this do? What is this? No. Is this? No! Wait. I'm gonna get back on that. I think the other one will take me back out. I think I fucked up. Because blue. Okay, I'm not gonna fight you. Let me out. Okay. Headed out for the night. Have a good stream. All right, thanks, man. Appreciate you. I don't think I'll be too much longer, just because these dungeons are like an hour and a half each, it seems, maybe 2. So I think I'm almost done with this one, but I definitely want to save. Maybe I'll do 2 dungeons. I don't know. Here we go. Kind of ironic that the ship that crashed was called the Challenger. Is it? If they were called the Survivor, then yeah. Or the Don't Explode on re-entry or. I like the challenge, am I right? Let me do this shit. I think it's over here. Let me have to unlock some skills. Have a good night, man. I've got a headache. I'm trying to chill. All right, man. Well, thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you. Hope you feel better soon. With item? Oh shit. Oh, I see. And I don't have anything to. Okay, no. Update skills. Thanks, man. Later. Peace out, dude. I hope that shit gets worse. Stop abandoning us. Hey, get the fuck back here. Feel better. What'd you say you were up to, Travi? You just chilling? Cruise evasion rate. That's a good one. Abandonment. Beating my shit. Still? Nice. It was 2 last time you gave us an update. How many times have you beaten it right now? Attacks after evading. Ooh, that's good too. Jay's opinions. And those are gonna be soft as shit. Lucky nut number 6. Oh damn, this bitch can get a lot. You get a flare. You get a... You already have a stone. And exchange with item? I don't have enough points, so do I sell skill books? And is this really what I'm supposed to do? Am I supposed to... Covers weak spots in attack? I'm not quite sure. Oh, okay. 'Cause these are skill books. These are actual skills. So even though it says sell skill book, my opinions are pretty great. Sure. Sell some of these. What are you up to? You grinding in Final Fantasy? Careful, okay? Yeah. Magician. Oh, please come in. We deal in magic here at this shop. What can we do for you today? Oh, I got eggs. Grinding Brevy default actually. Nice, nice. I assumed you were grinding something. I do. Add another flare egg? Oh, junction recipe. Okay. Oh, I don't have any. Okay, all right. God damn. I should really look up a guide. So I don't wanna fuck this up. Flare, 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 flare. Honestly, you ain't even part of my team right now, so we're gonna mix yours with yours. We are going to make a what? Lava? Burn flame. There we go. Got lava. Aqua, what does that do? Stone, that's funny. Bomb egg? Burn strike. Wow. And this is what? Lava and stone. Okay, because I don't really use stone with her. Yeah, burnt flame and yeah, these are better. These are way better. HH, I don't know what that means. Rahala. And then got blonde bitch. What do you got? You got stone. Stone and aqua do. Sand. Dust. I'm okay for now. I just need more eggs, but this is good. And then assign slots. Get a bomb and aqua. For sure, can it level up? How do I level up my aqua? That's what I want to do. And then last drop. Actually, I think that's it. All right, let's get back out there. Oh, nice. Stabbing the beds. They're trying to kill the hobbitses. You know, I have a friend who's never seen Lord of the Rings. Bitch. That's gonna be our next movie night. I finally showed him Star Trek Troopers. But yeah, me and some friends are gonna watch Lord of the Rings as a family soon. And he actually has a nice setup, man. Fucking surround sound, big ass, like 77-inch TV or something. It's like 75. I forgot how big that fucking TV is, but it's huge. Good TV. You got the Gobi lights. And the fucker's like a mixologist, basically. So it's like he always makes like these dope cocktails. Like, we'll just be watching the movie and I'm like, where'd Vinny go? And he was like, oh shit, there's old fashioned in front of me. How do you do that? That's his mutant ability. Surprise you with alcohol. Then I whip out the Benjamin. Good times. Wait, I don't think I'm in the right spot. It's not the flame ruin, it's just the Inferno pit, isn't it? No, this is it. Here we go. Is Peter Jackson work on anything? He makes some of the goofiest and the most epic movies. Supposing more Lord of the Rings. Oh, that's right, the Gollum thing. And then I heard that they might make another movie, but based on the chapters they actually skipped for these. I remember hearing something about that. So I think we have like 2 movies in development. Thanks for reminding me. Are they Peter Jackson though? What does the H mean? Hang on, let me get the manual. Also, I'm gonna pee and then we get one more beer. I think he's attached. Nice, nice, nice. I'll be right back. I was just saying, because like, I do like this shit, like, you know, King Kong, The Lord of the Rings, but like, I kind of want, like, Meet the Feebles prequel. You know? Give me another fucking Dead Alive. You gone, bot? Back. I think he's attached. Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you heard me when I was screaming when I went to go pee. Yeah, I wanted to make another weird one, like a Meet the Feebles follow up or something, you know? Feel practical. It would have to be. But knowing him, it'll be like all green screened and fucking mocapped and shit. All right, hold on. Oop, oop. Damn, dude. I smelled my leftovers. I was like, ah. Oh yeah, let me get the menu. So I don't know what the H means. Ooh, this is a beefy boy. The H next to burn strike. I'm like, boom. Is that for H for hot because it's fire, or for hella? Yo, this shit hella good. Hold on. Command egg, equip skill book, equip skill. Create a skill. I think we're getting there. Change slots. Sorry. Fuck. Moves, escape. I like how they do this after all the combining and bullshit. Yeah, this effect. Skill type. The new moves. Spell name, skill, advantage, recover spells. Motherfuckers. Oh, it's the recipe. Think of compatibility when you combine Mana X. Your attacks, consider magic. There's a strategy guide ad. Nice. Hold on. I think close to the end of Bravely Default. Really? How many hours in are you? That's awesome. Grandia Xtreme. H next to magic spell. The H next to a magic spell or mana egg indicates hits plus. Increases the number of magic attack hits. This modifier increases the number of times okay. Effectively increases total damage up by that spell. Does it go away or is it permanent? That's awesome. Oh, alright. Dude, this game is not bad. I'm seeing just how deep these systems are gonna be, you know? Ooh, wait, these are fire though. This might not do much to these guys.
Piercing winds come forth.
God damn!
Can you take it?
Around 65 cores. Nice. Oh yeah, dude, that's fucking him up.
Yeah, baby.
Oh yeah.
I am feeling good.
So I said before, and this is true, most of my stream time, or most of my game time is my streams. But when I do find like a lazy afternoon or something, like, I don't know, evening or on a Sunday or something, I've been enjoying my couple hours with Final Fantasy IX. But that's one that I kind of like want to like lock in. It started off just like as a novelty. I'm like, oh, look at it. And I was like, I got into it. I'm like, all right, fine. Like, I won't cancel stream for it. And I don't want to do it on stream. It's been like my cozy, like, you know, lean back and enjoy the vibes game story. It's the GOAT. I'm really excited for you to get to the 3D era after 6, but, and tactics. Because I want, it's been so long since you played these games, right? And it's unavoidable that I think you'll reappraise them, you know? So I'm curious if 9 will still be your favorite. It's a lot of people's favorites. I also think it might be Deadwolf's favorite. All my game time is on stream. I don't play anything off stream. That's something that I think it's healthy for me. Because when I first started this, It's almost like if I didn't stream it, did I even play it? You know? But sometimes it's nice to have one just for you. Like, that was important to me for Resident Evil 9 in particular. I just wanted to immerse myself, and I don't regret not streaming it. I'm curious as well, after playing 10 and 12, I rate them both higher than I used to. Yeah, they're good, dude. Those are among the best. Like, I know this word gets thrown around, but, and this is such a subject. No, not fully. There is some subjectivity to it, but I would say I think 10 and 12 are objectively for sure top 10. For sure top 10. But part of me wants to say 5 even, you know? And I'm including all the spin-offs and rare sequels that we get. Also, I blame you for this. Like, your RPG streams have been making me itch, you know, for some of these. And now that I'm in it, I'm like, fuck, I just want to play RPGs. For now, at least. I'll get it out of my system at some point. It's not in my top, but I think 10's arguably the GOAT. It's too good. Oh, so, wait. It's not in your top, right? So it's not one of your favorites, but you're saying on a critical level, you like 10? 10's the best? The GOAT? Is that what you're saying? When you playing Never Dead? I was actually just talking about you talking about that, which is funny. Last time I streamed. I don't know. I can do that. It's not that long of a game, is it? I know. I think Paul is suggesting tactics. But also, he wants to do a collab with Reanimal, which sounds fun. It's one of my favorites. I have 10 at my number 3 spot right now. For me, it's my number 1. Trying to think of like 4 is so good and 6 is good. I just think 6 runs on a little bit. But the fact you're able to like make a game work with that many fucking characters, that's also fucking props. I have 9 and 7 above it. I'm really curious if that rank will stay. I think it might change, man, but I'm curious. If it stays the same, that's awesome too. But I have a feeling like you're, because I'm very curious of the possible new order you'll have. Because I played most of them once, you know? So my feelings are very of the time. Even I would like to replay some of these and see, or even finish some of them, like 3 and 9. I might get back to, okay. Fuck, dude. So I'm playing 9. I told myself I'll play 16 after that. And then, but I already started 3, so maybe I'll get back to 3. I played 7, 8, and 9 at least 3 times, but it was 20 or more years ago. Exactly. Like, I played, the only ones I played multiple times would have been 10. Technically, I think I beat Tactics on PSP twice. No, that was once. I'm thinking about another Tactics game. I beat 1 and 2 twice. 4, 5, and 6 I beat once. I think 7 might be twice, but I haven't played that since like 2009. Well, that was the last time I beat it. I started it on my PS4 a few years ago. I just I haven't beat it yet. I think 5 is gonna be a one-off for me. I like it, don't love it. That's fair. Like I was saying, even for me, I do like 5, but I think it might be my least favorite of the Pixel ones. So far, I didn't play 3. Yeah, I played the 3D one. But I didn't finish it, so I want to finish that too. He doesn't use magic, just fucking beat him up. Use your skills. What do I have? Yeah, use this one. The circle. Kill them all.
See you, Mr. Brandon.
I'm excited for you to get to 6. 6 has the vibes. 6 is good. But yeah, and then of the PlayStation era, so far I still like. Fuck, dude, it's hard to pick one because the other one starts shining, right? Like I want to be like, oh, I like 7 more, but then I start having these fond memories of 8, you know? And the probably wants to say 8, but then I'm like, oh, but the story of 7, like, there's just, it's a wonderful franchise. Oh, I gotta go around? Wait. Open up, bitch. Let me in. Oh. This game really does have good dungeon design. Like, even if it's not like a proper like numbered Grandia, this is still very enjoyable. What weapon do you use? Okay, this is for somebody else. I'm on the rematch against the diva singer girl. I love the stupid pop song she sings. In 5? Oh no, are you talking about Bravely Default? Did I just die? Oh. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I forgot about that. It's been a long time. I barely remember a lot of like the story. But that's what I would like to retry. Like I said, I actually own it physically, and it's in my 3DS right now. It's just, dude, time is so limited, and I don't know. Yeah, let's just get rich overnight, yeah? We don't have to work. We just stream and play games all day. That's all I want. Sounds good. All right, man. Let's make a horror movie or something. And your boy can make us like a Will Smith style intro or music video based on it. Bitches. What's your favorite horror movie, Jay? Is it The Thing? Is it, actually, it's either The Thing, it might be Halloween, right? Or, not, Friday the 13th? Evil Dead. Oh, fuck, I knew that. God damn it. Alright, I'm mad. Don't look at me anymore. I knew that. Good choice.
You're a little too weak for the likes of us.
Do you have a favorite lesser known? Like one you could think of and you're just like, damn, that was good. And then like nobody really knows. There was that Russian vampire one that you mentioned that looked kind of cool. Or German, I don't know what the fuck that was. The puppet vampire, it looked cool. Aftermath 2021 was good. What the f is Aftermath? Oh, it's got Iceman and the chick from Twilight. Oh shit! And Paula, my the hot chick from Harold and Kumar. Nice, I'll watch it for sure if she's in it. Probably a lot. That's big. I've been watching random horror movies since I was like a kid. I know. I'm just trying to make conversation. I just want to talk about horror. That's all. I didn't even ask the question right. You know, what's a horror that people don't know that you like? You know. I don't know. It's an open convo. So I'm talking about zombies and shit. Or have you ever seen is it the Horde? It's like I think it's French. It's a French zombie movie. Oh, as I said, there's actually another French zombie movie that I saw with a friend called "The World Eats You." The Night Eats You, something like that. The World Eats You at Night. The World Eats You movie. Zombies. Night Eats the World. That's what it is. I've seen The Horde. It was decent. I haven't seen it in a long time. I just remember like the parking garage scene being kind of hype. That movie I'm talking about has one of the best twists I've seen. Nice. Because I'm in the mood for like a spooky, you know, but like one I haven't seen. The one that's like unique or cool, you know. Oh, you know what I want to see? I haven't even seen a trailer. I kind of go in blind. Jay, you might have seen it because I know you like Shudder. It's Infected. And the only reason I know about it is because I was looking into the new Evil Dead movie coming out. And that director for Evil Dead Burn, he made a movie called Infected, which is like a, funny enough, a French spider movie. And I heard it's supposed to be fucking sick. Infested? I think it's Infected. Infested movie? Vermins. Yeah, it's Infested. My bad, not Infected. Or Vermins in French. Vermini. Vermini. I don't know.
As long as we are alive, we vow to fight.
L'enfant terrible. Uh-oh. Bring it on, motherfucker! Welcome to hell, motherfucker! Movie sucks. Spinning Slash is kind of good. Hey, let's get all these motherfuckers out of the way here. Right now. Right here. Right now. Les enfants terribles. You took too long, you bitch! Oh wait, no, I might actually attack first. Cancel! This guy. Oh damn, that actually did a lot of damage. And I love the combo attacks. This is a good fucking combat system. I know I keep sucking his dick this time, but like they improved it. This is an improvement over 2, at least as far as the combat.
How'd you like that?
Like if 2 had fucking combo attacks, man. Dog. Never gonna finish this fucking dungeon. Sorry, I couldn't respond. Oh, you're fine, man. You got grinding and Bravely Default. I'd start crying. I'm just yapping. But yeah, like I said, I don't know. I just don't talk about spooky movies. Your boy recommends one called Aftermath, which has an actress I grew up with, like kind of having a crush on. So I'll probably watch that one. But you had mentioned one called, yeah, I watched Infested. It was pretty good. I liked it. I don't know about the director. Watched it randomly on Shudder. Oh, nice. Yeah, that dude, he's making Evil Dead Burn. Which is out in like, what, 3-4 months, and we haven't seen shit on it, so give me a trailer. What are you doing? No, don't move, you motherfucker. Okay, I got him still. I'll keep everything in the dark trailers ruined too much. No, I do agree with that. I do agree with it. I hope it's good. I like Rise, but I don't think it was. I think it's the weakest erectile dysfunction movie so far. Yeah, honestly, yeah, but they're all great, you know. So being good in a franchise that's great, that's not bad. No, keep everything in the dark. Trailers ruin too much. I do agree that sometimes a trailer can fuck up and it just gives you the whole movie, but I like the ones that are like intentionally misleading sometimes, or even to me, I think one of the best marketing campaigns was Avengers Endgame. You get no plot from their marketing. It was all hype, no plot, and I fucking respect them for that. And in fact, they did that. I was like, God damn, guys, good shit. But I like to have an idea of like the tone, the vibe, the look of it. Oh, you guys are both going up. Oh shit. Damn, Jimmy. If you don't know the tone and vibe from Evil Dead, then watch other movies first. No, I'm on a strictly per movie basis. It's like I would at least like a screenshot, you know. I want to know what it looks like. Like, yeah, it's Evil Dead. I'm gonna watch it, but you know, market your fucking movie. I do agree they give away too much, and yeah, I know what to expect from Evil Dead, but you know, I'm not gonna go in blind. I want to see something.
As long as we are alive, we vow to fight.
I like to be excited before. But yeah, when I think random horror gems, I think of 80s horror. 80s is where horror peaked, maximum violence, tits, and practical effects. Yeah, I've said it before. I think one of the universal things about like horror and horror fans is just like an inherent appreciation of special effects, practical effects, you know. So I love that shit. I agree. At least there are some gems from the 80s. It started a bunch of like major franchises, for better or worse. I do still think there's innovation in the genre today, especially with the elevated horror. I don't hate the CGI, but practical, when done right, it will always be superior. I 100% agree. Like I've said this before. I keep saying that, but I don't hate the Thing prequel. I think it's good, not great. I think one of the biggest sins though is the kerfuffle with the CGI. I don't even think the CGI is that bad. It's just knowing that the movie was shot with practical effects and the studio covered it up. That stings. I want to see a practical cut of that movie. Yeah, what the fuck were they thinking? Yeah, dude, like, and they said it felt too 80s. I'm like, dog, that's the fucking point. Still a good movie though. Yeah. It's not amazing. It doesn't touch the original, but it's still good. And I usually watch both when I watch The Thing. Nowadays. But what was I gonna say? Use these. Yeah, I would kill to see a practical cut of that movie. Nice. Is it timed? Is he gonna attack me again? Okay. I'm also a Joel Egerton fan. I think he's an underrated actor. Yeah, welcome in, Fat Mario. Hey, Fat Mario's here. What's up, bud? Is it Edgerton? It's Edgerton, right? Or Egerton? Or it's Edgerton. I'm stupid. It's actually Edgar. Edgerton. I don't know, but yeah, he's good. There's a movie I was told to watch. It's late over there. Go to bed, young man. Yeah, for real. But welcome in, bud. How was The World It Comes at Night? How's that movie? I'm in London. Are you really? 7 a.m. Nice. Well, good morning, sir. Yeah, what's was It Comes at Night any good? Times a Night is ironically a modern classic. I fully recommend it. Yeah, I think it was you that mentioned it actually. I heard it's not like a traditional horror, right? Is it even horror, or is it more like a suspense thriller kind of thing? Because I've heard it's not what you think it is. That's all I know. But it looks good. I like the cast. Let me make a little list, man. Let me add that real quick. It comes at night. Horror drama. Because like I haven't done it in a long time, but I miss just like, you know, I might do it tonight. I might end stream soon. I'm gonna end stream after this dungeon, but I'll probably put like, you know, the Gobi lights on, grab a blankie, cuddle with my cat, and watch a fucking horror movie that I haven't seen before. If that's a spoilery question, don't worry about that then. It was definitely marketed as horror, whether or not it is kind of up to the individual. Gay. What up, Devil? I saw Cold Storage recently. It was decent. I dug it. It's like a fun little B-movie comedy horror thing. Apparently it's very different in the book. I think the book is serious and then the movie is a comedy, but it was fun. I don't think I'll buy it, but if it's ever on TV, I'll watch it. Now what? Oh shit. Wait, what happened? Oh, is this open? Do I go this way? What up, Devil? What are you up to, man? How you doing? Jay, I love this game's dungeons so far, at least. Like they're fun. It feels almost like and I do mean this in a good way. It kind of reminds me of the first Dot Hack, like the world, that game in the game. It plays like that, but with not action RPG combat. The fuck? Oh. I'm good. Wait, what? Combo. Oh, you're in front of me. That's what that was. I was like, I thought it was speaking to me. Dungeon exploration games are great. Sadly niche these days. Mainly SMT is the only well-known series still doing it. I've never, the only mainline SMT I've played has been Nocturne, and I thoroughly enjoyed that one. It was kind of nice to vicariously relive it through your stream. But yeah, you don't really get too many of these days. There was dude, Capcom was developing a dungeon crawler like 10, 15 years ago, and I thought it looked great. It was called Deep Down. You remember that one? That looked awesome. Yeah, it's still my favorite one, but Strange Journey came really close. You made me want to play Strange Journey. That's also on my 3DS. But also, I'm kind of like you, where it's like, if I'm gonna do it, like, I think Nocturne was really the only one I had access to in high school. But you honestly made me want to try the mainline series. Deep Down looked cool, but did they ever show gameplay? I don't remember CG trailers. I think there was a bit of gameplay. I want to say there was actually like a gameplay breakdown. No? I just remember watching it get actually like kind of hyped. Deep Down gameplay. Yeah, it's 25 minutes of gameplay. 12 years ago. Oh no. 13 years ago. It was supposed to be on PS4. I thought it looked great, man. Wow. Yeah. Fuck. Stings, huh? It's just crazy. Like things that don't feel that long ago. I was like, damn, dog, that was literally 15 years ago. Like other stuff, you know? But yeah, I don't think I appreciated it the first time I played it, but yeah, man, good dungeon design with stellar Grandia gameplay. Yeah, you always don't know how much time flies. Yeah, like you kind of take it for granted in a weird way. That's why Anakin killed them. After you said younglings, I was like, I thought maybe you were setting up for something. You should have said young bloods. Wait, did I still take damage from that? Also, dude, in any, like, I think the Tales games do it too, where it's like, you know, the whole party targets one enemy, and just like 4 people beating the shit out of something. I love it.
Pretty good, huh?
Yeah, I mean, there's gonna be some exceptions and stuff, but I'm really digging streaming real hardware right now. Oh, it's already blocked. Stupid. It's this one that I'm thinking about. Novice book. Tales is great. I have no clue why we haven't gotten a new one in like 5+ years. How many Tales games are there? And where should I start? Because I've only played a bit of Tales of Symphonia. I have Tales of Abyss on like 2 consoles. Tales of Xillia 1 and maybe 2. But I've only played like a little bit of Symphonia. There's a shitload going since SNES, yeah. You can start anywhere not connected with rare exceptions. Oh, didn't you say, because the one that really grabbed my interest was Tales of Berseria, and you were saying that that one is kind of like, actually, should I go back and save? Go back and save before the boss. It's connected to another Tales game. Berseria is my favorite, and it's amazing. Yeah, dude, I remember watching like a little bit of like a story trailer, and the protagonist just seems really engaging. She looks pissed, you know. I don't know what it was about it, but I really gravitated towards that one, so I kind of want to start there. But didn't you say it's connected to another one? Like softly, but it is like in the same universe as like Xillia or something. I forget. Because if that's the case, I definitely want to start with another one. Also, I own Symphonia, so maybe I should start there and finish it. And then there's Tales of Fantasia on SNES, PS1. I forget. I think they HD'd it. I like the buzz. No. Ah, fuck. Actually, I would have gotten I like the buzz. I was just too busy thinking about RPGs. Dude, there's so many games I want to stream. You have no idea. Like, I know, like, I'm busy and I don't stream as much as like I probably should. But if there's a way I could, I don't think I actually saved. Did I? Did I save? I think I just rested. I didn't save. I wish I could stream more. Like if I could stream 5 times a day like you, dude. But that would require quitting my day job. It's connected to Zestiria. You don't have to play Zestiria first. The connection is not clear until the end of the game. I will say playing Zestiria first makes Berseria better, but it would still be great. I'll start with prequel because I know it's not not required, but I don't know. There's so many of them that I don't have time to play them in order to get to the ones I want to play. But I don't know. Maybe I should. I like playing things in order, you know. Oh wait, no. What am I doing? Yeah, leave. Okay. And then just rest. Faster than going back out the other side and back in. The only thing is Zestria is kind of mid-tier. It's not bad, but not one of the better ones. It's connected to the very best one. Tales of Arise looked kind of dope also. That's the latest one. And the fact that you said it's been 5+ years makes me freak out because it still feels new to me. I think I have that one. That one's always on sale. I dropped Arise. I need to get back to it. Did you like what you played? I remember loving how it looks, where it's like it's kind of got like that like hyper real fantasy, but like also like kind of cell shaded a little bit. I think that's what that would look like. No, what? I have to fucking do this part again? Fuck you. That's fucked up. That's god damn it. I didn't know the line. I understand the enemies respawning. Don't make me do the environmental puzzle again. You have one fucking safe spot in the goddamn game. You bitch. Alright, that's strike one, Grandia Xtreme. Kind of. I would say it's mid-tier like Zestiria. But big dogs are... Okay, I have Vesperia on my 3DS and my PS2. Berseria, I think I have on Steam. And probably Symphonia, but that one is pretty old and shows its age a bit. Yeah, but that's like the GameCube era. That's like 6th gen RPG. I could tolerate it. But I have Symphonia on... for sure, I think it's Steam. I think it was on Steam, right? And also I have it on my modded Wii, but I think I have the remaster on Switch, so I'll probably play the remaster. This dungeon already annoyed me. I didn't know I couldn't leave it. Of what you own, Symphonia is probably the best place to start, to be honest. It's the oldest and one of the most beloved. That's a good suggestion. So I'll do Symphonia, Zestiria. I have Zillia. So I might do that one too. And then yeah, I really want to play Berseria. You know what I mean? Like, you ever look at a franchise and like, even though like I habitually start from the beginning most of the time, every now and then it's kind of nice to be like, because like when I got into Persona, it was Persona 3. I didn't really know about the Shin Megami Tensei series at that time. But I just saw these fucking high schoolers shooting themselves in the head going, Persona! And then a fucking Digimon comes out and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? I saw my buddy in high school playing it on his PSP and I was like, that's the one I'm gonna start with. And I got my Vita and I almost started with 4, but I was like, no, let me start with 3. Because at the time, 1 and 2 seemed a little bit too old. But now that I don't care about that shit anymore, I would like to play Persona 1 and 2. Well, I started Persona 1 on PSP. But you know, finish them. I don't want to do this puzzle again, you fucking bitch. I was in here for like 15 fucking minutes. I have tried to start Persona 1 like 4 times and always drop it. It's funny because it feels more like an SMT game than actual like Persona proper. Yeah, it feels like Shin Megami Tensei. Combat is always too slow. SMT combat is quick. It's funny, my dyslexic ass saw that as a quack. But I love 3, 4, and 5. Oh, when I played the fight, I'm literally like a dungeon and a half away from the ending. But it's been so long that I actually, like I said, I got Persona 5 Royal for the Switch. It's probably the worst way to play that game, but it's fine. For like 15 bucks. It's a good deal. Did you see the AI controller Stadia came out with for April Fools today? Yeah, it's stupid. That's funny. Funny joke. But I wouldn't be surprised if they actually did try that shit. Persona 4 is one of my favorite games. It's good. I think I just like, because once again, it's like it's hard to separate 3 and 4 because I like them a lot. There is something about 3 that I think I do gravitate towards more. Kind of like the edgelord bullshit. But also there's some of the characters like Junpei, he's a fucking Chad, and then you got Mitsuru, who I want to fucking, you know. And then, but 4 has such amazing characters and story, and I like when every character gets the persona and they're like, I was like this all along. You know, and you get their social links. Like, it's always a good time. P3 lacked the best friends vibe. Yeah. in 4, just Bessie's hanging out and solving mysteries. I mean, 3, you're solving mysteries in there too, but I do know what you mean. I do know what you mean. There's something about the social links in 4 and those characters where I feel like I'm actually building real relationships with these assholes. 3 does it too, but I think 4 did it better. I think I like the tone and like that, like just the blue dark nighttime aesthetic of 3. I don't know. I like both. Also the evoker thing, I think it's just some sick imagery. I don't know. I like them both. It's hard to pick. It's like trying to pick a favorite kid, which I heard every parent does anyway. P3 is very cool. Also, Mitsuru is best girl. Mitsuru is the choice in 3. In 4 of the main party members, I always started with like Rise, but dude, Chie always edges out at the end. But in 5 is Motoko, the nuclear chick, and then the teacher, and then the doctor. Like, if I had to pick from the party, it's fucking Makoto, but I love P4, but Mitsuru Mogs every start put, dude, 100%. Ben Lurking, how's it going? Hey, what up, P90? It'd be going. Just talking about Persona and Persona waifus. But yeah, Persona 5, of the cast of like the main party, I feel like I'm saying it wrong. I don't think it's Motoko or P5. Moko? No, what's her name? It's Makoto. Okay, I switched the T and the K. That's funny. It's Motoko. Makoto. But in off main party members, either the doctor or the fucking teacher, dude. And there's like gameplay reasons. I want to beeline it to the teacher when I play on my next playthrough. She lets you do. I don't remember anyone's name in Persona 5. Her name's On. Blonde girl was the best one. No, I feel like it's like boys pick On, men pick Motoko. I'm goofing, but no, with the teacher, you level up her social link, and then she gives you the ability to do another activity. So it's like, you know how like, okay, I can go to school and then the dungeon, and then that's it. Is Makoto the stinky computer nerd? No, that's no, Makoto is the girl on the motorcycle. She's dressed like an actual schoolgirl. The one you're thinking about, it starts with the F. What's her fucking name? Oh, yeah, P5 hacker. Futaba. That's who you're thinking about. Oh man, Futaba can get it. She kind of reminds me of one of my old managers. Teacher giving extra activity usually ends up on the news. That's funny. Okay, dude. Nice. That's not what I was going for, but that's awesome. But no, so in Persona, you only have time to do like 2 or 3 things in a day. So let's say you go to school and then you do something, right? And if you max her out, you can invite her over and get a massage and then do something else. That is worth gold in Persona. But nice joke. I liked that one a lot. Look, there's A. Oh, B. That's what I'm going for. Oh shit, they moved. No! But I massively prefer mainline SMT to Persona anyway. That's fine. I respect that. I feel like both of those franchises they're just doing different things, you know what I mean? Like, I think Persona is really all about the time management, the combining the daemons and stuff, equipping them like fucking Pokemon that change your stats. That's not really the SMT vibe. And I love the slice of life bullshit that they do. I really do. And Persona 5 is also, or Persona in general, they're also really good dungeon crawlers.
Such a piece of cake.
With there's a Tartarus in 3, 4 had the Shadow World, and then 5 is, what do they call it in 5? Shadow World again? I forget. Also in 4, I like the TV aesthetic. That's nice. Dude, I really want to stream those rhythm games, but there's just enough of a delay to make it not enjoyable for me. Honestly, Tartarus is a cool concept, but not very interesting to explore. 4 and 5 are better dungeons. No, that's true. That's true. I need to play Reload to see did they change the dungeons at all? Because I will say, even on my, because I played 3, 4, and 5 in that order. So the I enjoyed the evolution of it rather than looking back at it negatively. Like 3 and 4 do it better. I mean 4 and 5 do it better for sure. But I started with 3 and it was good then. I do agree though. I'm not disagreeing with you. Not really. In Reload it's still a bit dull, but to be fair, you're only in the dungeon like a third of the time. Yeah. But no, I do agree. 4 and 5 have better dungeons. Which I guess is a retroactive mark against 3 maybe, but I don't know. Like it's all part of the evolution of it. IMO. Persona 3 shot itself in the head so that Persona 4 can play with cards. Oh shit! God damn it! Oh, Mr. Mime? I'll fuck with Mr. Mime. Oh shit, girl, you gotta heal us. Is he gonna kill it? No. Yes. Oof. Yeah, attack me, not him.
Fall silence, evil ones.
Restore, restore!
Yeah, even though I shouldn't, I might watch a movie after this. I might just cozy up on my couch and watch a spooky movie. Fucker.
Fear the cry of the raging wind.
Oh, I gotta actually equip my fucking skills. God damn it, dude. Evan, you fucking ruined it. Good nice going, Evan.
Yeah, we're so great!
Not gonna lie, doing this again annoyed me. But it's fine. Fight these assholes. Bring it on, bitch. It's a combo, right? Oh, it's a feat. Yeah, it's her and Evan. Yeah, we're gonna attack. That's who.
There's no way we can
Right on, brother. Oh shit. Bring it on, bitch. Bring it on, bitch! Did you see the Backrooms movie trailer? Yeah, actually looks kind of cool. I want to see it.
Can you take it?
We should only fight those worthy.
Excellent. Did I step on it? I did. All right, and then we're going this way. We'll do the fucking push puzzle again, which is really a puzzle. Bogus. Thank you. That's funny. Yeah, dude, it was so weird. Like, he never used that word until like the fucking 30-hour mark, and he wouldn't stop saying it. And then once we left the dungeon, he stopped. It was really like, I guess we had like the substitute localizer that day. I don't know what the fuck happened. He just started talking like he doesn't. Wait, there's a chest up there. How do I get up there? How do? Oh, there's just over here too. Hold on, how the fuck do I get up there? So where is it? Nice, I didn't see you. Scroll and scroll, sure. And then how do I get up there? That's what I want. Oh, I got loops around. Okay, we're good, we're good. I am enjoying this game though. I have a feeling it's gonna be grindy. But that's not inherently bad. Oh, okay, I know what to do. I know what to do. You know what to do, Rico! Maybe I don't. Got a secret? We got a secret? Oh, we do got a secret! Fuck yeah, bro! Ah.
Piercing winds come forth.
All right, note to self: never backtrack to a save. Always just go for the portals as you see them. That's annoying. Like nobody wants to redo progress, especially in a fucking RPG, you know?
Such a piece of cake.
I didn't even get a game over. I went back so I don't have to worry about getting a game over, you know? Fuck is in here? White rag? Hell yeah. Ivy! What'd it do, dog? How you doing? Forget where to go. Is it this way? This way. How you doing, Ivy? Oh wait, you sub? Holy shit! Is that a sub emote? I forget. In any case, it's a pleasure. Welcome back. Selling my Grandia shit. That noise is annoying. I wish I could turn that off. Oh, I just realized you stabbed me in the head. Nice. Do that in real life for me, please. Please. I'm getting sleepy. I'm too a little bit, but not like in a more like in an irresponsible way, you know? I'm gonna finish this dungeon. Jay, give me like 20 more minutes. And then you can go. I'll allow it later. And I'll probably watch a movie. I already said it though. I'm kind of glad you're at least like superficially interested in this one.
Piercing winds come forth.
No, I wasn't even targeting you. I was trying to go for the weird kiwi bird dinosaur looking thing. You ruined everything. I'll probably do a long stream tomorrow. I want to finish Final Fantasy V. I think you're getting there, dude. I think you could. Does that mean you're starting early or are you streaming late? I'll heal after battle out of this with items. I don't want to use my magic or an SP right now. What the fuck? Maybe both? I'll probably start at 1 or 2 depending on when I wake up. Well, I'll be there for it. Looking forward to it. I do have wait, play fair. Am I on AI? What the fuck did I hit? No. Love it. What the fuck? How did I switch to AI? What did I hit?
Likes us.
Manual. How did I do that? Triangle, switch to AI battle. Oh, that's what it was. An X to cancel it. Okay. Honestly, I like games that have that as an option. And I got that thing already, yeah, so we just go through. Here we go. You should name your character Kyle in Monster Hunter. I've been Jay Conk in every Mon Hunt, so I'll probably stick with that. Dude, there's something about Grandia monster design. It's how fucking bonkers it is, you know? Good shit. And then the very not great audio mixing. It's part of the charm. Kyles are known for drinking tons of Monster and punching holes in drywall. Yo, boy, what's your real name? Because I imagine either like a Kyle or I don't know, you seem like you could be like a Devin. Wrong. Yeah, that's why I'm asking. I find the general graphical design of this game very pleasing. I like the look of pretty much everything. Feels cleaner than the first two. Yeah, I think the big thing is it might actually be the same engine, but I think it's because it's not a Dreamcast game. It's a PS2 game, baby. So I think they were able to do more with it, you know? And I like this look of like the it's still kind of got like a very similar thing where it's still chibi in a sense, but it's also like, oh shit, am I gonna die? Like I like the proportions here and stuff. My real name is Alex. Oh, nice. Another crustacean, left claw. Let's focus fire on the right claw. Oh wait, no, he had damage on something, didn't he? Oh shit, he didn't. All right, let's do the claws first. My real name is Big Cock McAwesome. Cool name, bro. Oh fuck. Oh, he cast Burn Flame. You motherfucker. Stop it! Oh my god. No! No! Oh my god, no! Your mom give you that name? He picked it. Okay, that's bad. This fucker is confused. Holy shit. No, please, stop it! Fuck, dude. Oh my god, no. This is going horribly. She said it seemed appropriate when I was born. She was like, dude, he's got a big cock and it's awesome. That's not even your last name. And she was like, no, he will be known as Big Cock McAwesome. It's funny, it's very fun to say. Big Cock McAwesome. A Quick Draw McGraw. Oh my god. Full health? No. I can live with this. And he's not poisoned anymore. That's great. First aid spray? Spray kit.
Piercing winds come forth.
Here it is.
Damn, bruh. She's attacking who? Her? Okay, she's fine.
Restore, restore!
I feel like IRL, a giant crab would be one of the scarier creatures to get rid into. Yeah, dude. Just this inhuman face with like mandibles that just does shit, you know? Little mouth hands. Big ass claw, they walk sideways. Their armor. I 100% agree. Also, you have arachnophobia, right? Do crabs trigger that a little bit? Honestly, this might be nice to do. Nah, crabs don't scare me, just spiders. I'll up everyone's attack. It'll be worth it.
Hear my cry.
Crabs, also delicious. Breeding? No breeding! Bruh.
Fall silent, evil ones.
Oh shit, that worked. I didn't think I could put a boss to sleep. All of his parts. Wait, that's how breeding works? Yeah, dude, you vomit up babies. Didn't you see that in health class? Now, what I wonder is if I attack like a claw. Oh, this motherfucker. Yeah. If we'll wake up all of them. Fuck, why I've been putting my penis inside people? So gross. I don't know, man. I think you're doing it wrong. Wait, what? We're immune to wind?
Vroom, vroom, vroom.
Also, I just fucked up. I really should have done her. Aren't crabs basically sea spiders? They're definitely arachnids. And crustaceans are very close relatives to insects. So there are comparisons to be made. I don't know if it's like literally sea spider. Scorpions are also arachnids, you know? But and crustaceans are bottom feeders. They don't use webs or traps or anything like that. They eat like dead shit. They're sea roaches. Crabs are not arachnids. Crustaceans are closely related to insects. But crustaceans are crustaceans. Also, I had another point I was going to say to support that. Yeah, they behave differently. They're bottom feeders. What else was I going to say? They're crustaceans, making them more closely related to shrimp and lobsters. Oh, I called them, they behave like roaches. While both are arthropods, crabs have 10 legs and gills, whereas arachnid spiders, scorpions have 8 legs and are typically terrestrial. Yeah. I didn't know if the gills would change that. Why do scrambled eggs not taste like chicken? Because eggs aren't chicken. The chicken you eat is muscle, eggs are eggs. It's like asking why, I don't know, blood doesn't taste like meat. I don't know. Why does cum not taste like people? Fuck, exactly. God damn it, dude, that was good. I wouldn't know what cum tastes like. Cap. You know what people taste? Bro! Nice. You know what cum tastes, but you know what people taste like? You should have done the eye emoji though. I've had McDonald's. I mean, I don't think McDonald's is as Soylent Green as people type situation. No. The bitch gotta heal. Nice. I feel like this fight is not going well. It could be better, but it'll be okay after we heal right here.
Everybody okay?
Yeah, see, we're fine. Once I take out like his one claw and then the other one, we'll be fine.
Beware the black.
When do you fight a dung beetle? Not sure. I don't know if there's a dung beetle in here, but I look forward to it if so. Please cancel, please cancel, please cancel, please cancel, please cancel. Would you rather fight a giant wasp or a giant scorpion? I feel like, how giant are we talking? Both are 15 feet tall. So when it comes to the wasp, are we going like it's horizontal flying around, right? Like this. Is that 15 feet? And then the scorpion, it's got the tail, right? But you're going to like the top of like the head and back, right? That's 15 feet. And the tail could be fucking like 40 feet up, right? Scorpion, I feel like with wasps are faster. No, honestly, I'm leaning towards the scorpion. I feel like the wasp it's got a fear tactic. It flies. It goes, you know, it's fucking, they're loud. They're aggressive. I feel like the scorpion's got like, and like it strikes, you know? I feel like I would pick the scorpion. Fine, both are 3 times the weight of an average adult man. still a big fucking bug. I picked Scorpion. Which still am I talking about? Yeah, if it was me, that's one thing. If it was Jay, that's a... Damn, you bitch. Oh shit, don't confuse me, don't confuse me, don't confuse me. He confused me. Okay, Jay, you're right. This fight's not going well. Average was in the question. Oh yeah, this is true. What would the average male weight be? Like 175, 180, 180? Around there, right? I think Scorpion is a better choice. Its mobility is worse. Yeah. But also, I feel like it's easier to deal with like a crawler than a flyer. Probably between 180 and 200. And if I ever hit 280, I'll hang myself. No shit. Okay, this is bad. I'm out of the first aids. All right, here's what's gonna happen. Everybody's gonna take a heal.
I can't take care of you anymore.
What? What if the 280 weight went to your dick? Would you kill yourself then? Probably, because I'd have some weird like elephant man dick. There'd be like a big goopy tumor where my dick used to be, so probably not. Also, dude, if your dick weighed 280, you couldn't fuck anybody. I'm not legally allowed to wear shorts anymore. Nice. An actual micro penis would be better than a monstrously large dick in every way. I actually agree.
I can't take care of you anymore.
Like if I have this fucking Resident Evil tyrant dick, then you know that's one thing, right? Like it's like trying to fuck like with a belly. It's like how do you get that in there? You know, the micro peen you can at least like rub your clit or whatever. Still get off that way. No more breeding, bitch. Shit.
Fall silent, evil ones.
This is one of the most engaging Grandia boss fights in general. Like the Grandia 2 bosses are kind of brain dead. Where's Left Claw? What I could do though is actually try to take out these guys. Yeah. It's worth it to get rid of the fucking fodder. Like, what the fuck? You really couldn't physically have sex with too big a dick. It would just be an embarrassing mutation. Yeah.
Boom! Blow it up!
Also, I like how this game, like, you learn new abilities, like, in battle. It has, like, a cool, like, little first-time cutscene. This is not a bad Grandia. Let's just attack it. Let me try and build some SP. We're in a better situation until he breeds again. Saga style? Really? I never played the Saga games. I played a little bit of the one that's supposed to be bad. I never beat it. I remember enjoying what I played, but I borrowed the Saga Unlimited on PS2, which I heard is supposed to be shit. But yeah. I would be fine with people making fun of me for having a gigantic dick. A mutant giant dick? Like a fucking, like, no, we're literally talking about a 280-pound dick. You'd be fine with people making fun of you for that? Right, you said, yeah, 280. Like, that's not a dick, dude. That's like a big mass of flesh. You couldn't use it. Getting hard would kill you. You know what I mean? There's such thing as too much, yeah, boy. It would have to be surgically removed. That's the only option. Yeah, dude, for real. You didn't give somebody a handicap. You gave him a fucking death sentence.
Fear the cry.
I'm still waiting for the downside. You can't fuck and you're a freak and people make fun of you. Those are the downsides. We literally said that. Oh shit. Who are you swallowing? Horrible back issues. You can't even walk. You'd probably be stuck in a wheelchair. For real, dude. This is a horrible fate that you've imagined, bro. I wouldn't wish this on anybody. Think it'll make a good amount of money? I mean, if that's your bar for happiness, sure. But like I said, it's like, you know, you can't be romantic with anybody. Good luck finding somebody to settle with that would be into that.
Vroom, vroom, vroom. Spinning wheel.
Lightning wave. Sparkle.
If you're romantic, you couldn't even jerk off. You'd be totally reliant on wet dreams to ever come. And even then, it's like your dick is that big, right? Your balls are probably the same size. So can you even produce enough seminal fluid to like actually ejaculate from a 180-pound dick? No. It would just stew in there and get infected or something, causing fucking necrosis. You would die, dude. Fuck, he's breathing again. Oh shit. This game is never ending. Maybe I won't watch a movie. But after this boss fight, I'll definitely call it. And most likely I'll stream tomorrow.
I can't take care of you anymore.
But we'll see. If it turns out to be Lord of the Rings night, probably not, but we'll see. Well, no, tomorrow's, well, it's Thursday. I'll stream today. Friday is up in the air. That's what I meant. In my mind, it's already Thursday, you know? It's attack pin, I guess. Yeah, you're on healing duty, I guess. Bitch.
Beware the plastic wall.
You're all better now.
What are you planning, sir? High jump? Everybody defend. We'll be okay. Attack! We're the blue BB. Fuck. This will cancel too, I think. Yeah, that was rough. Oh god. Jay, help! I should use Aiden to heal. Dumb.
I can't take care of you anymore.
Oop. Lucky.
May this holy water illuminate us.
Alright, you. Fuck.
Vroom, vroom, vroom. Spinning wheel.
Cancels, nice. That's what I like to see, baby. Hell yeah. Okay, nice cancel. This actually might kill the claw too. Let's see.
Fall silent, evil ones.
Oh shit, maybe not. I guess he does.
I can't take care of you anymore.
Sure you can. It's your fucking job, bitch. Do it.
Watch and learn.
What the fuck?
My fist. My soul. Fist burst.
That did nothing, you idiot. That's awesome.
I figured it out. Freezing arrows.
I love how you unlock these moves in like the middle of a battle, you know? And I don't know, I think Jade might have left, but yeah, he keeps saying that Saga does this too. That's awesome. Here. Oh, okay, nice. I think I'm almost done. I'm sorry. I really would like to watch a movie tonight. I might still. I want to say they call it Spark in Saga, something like that. Aren't you supposed to stream the Saga games too at some point? Am I making that up? I feel like that's something you said you want to do. Well, technically you did, right? Didn't you play Final Fantasy Legend? That's the first Saga game, right? I'm gonna play them offline because I want to do perspectives. Okay, I respect that.
Fall silent.
Fuck! Dude, one of my viewers asked if I'm gonna do the fucking follow-up on Army of Zin. I don't know if you remember that one dude that came in here and he was like, yo, I'm here from the fucking YouTube. And I was like, oh, word? He hit me up. He was like, are you gonna do it? And I was like, yeah. No. Okay, dude, I thought the game froze on me for a second. It was loading the attack. Yeah, I'm really slacking on the Maximo. video. It's literally over a year. I played them, but not on stream. I thought you did. I'm
This blow will
making shit up, I guess.
split your skull.
You for sure talked about it, and I think there was the confusion because, like, I still have a hard time separating Final Fantasy Legend from Adventure. Like, I was confused them. The reason I'm not planning to stream them is when I get to the PS1 era and later I'll have to beat every game like 6 times. You have to beat them with every character to get the true ending. Over 100 hours per game. I didn't know that. Really? How many characters are there? You know, is the game like overall short, but there's like 8 characters or some shit? And then is it like Resident Evil 2 where it's like you do it, it saves, you do it, it saves, and then you get the true ending after that second one, but in this case it'd be like the 4th. Yeah, I played the Mana Game Boy games, not the Saga Game Boy games. Yeah, I know the Mana ones, yeah. You say Mana or Mana? I usually lean Mana. And like I know it's Grandia, but I say Grandia. Get fucked, I don't care. A kickflip. This fucking guitar riff. I usually say Mana. Yeah, same. I'm tired of this, Grandpa. But it's okay, I think we're getting there.
This blow will split your skull.
Okay, good, it canceled. I was close. See, that little butthole clench I just did? That's what fucking Grandia does. You know what I mean? Like the oh, and then it cancels. You brace for impact, and then you're saved. Fucking thrilling. See, I missed it this time. You got 2, you fucking bitch. Just beat him up.
Woo! I am so worn out.
MVP? Yeah, you are. Oh shit, you get extra MP or XP. I didn't know that. I think the choosing your starting character thing started with Romancing Saga on SNES, which is the 4th game. From there, I think Romancing Saga 2 and 3 only require 1 playthrough. Then the Romancing games, like 5 or 6 more, I think, all require around 6 playthroughs each. That's fucked up. Is this like a thing that they added that's like now part of the fucking identity of the franchise? Oh, okay, we might be done here. Oh, we are done. Huh? What's that? This is different than the Sandstorm's Den. I like the music. We're done when I say we're done. Nice. I want to rewatch Breaking Bad, and then I want to actually start Better Call Saul. I've never seen Better Call Saul. Kind of. Saga remains really experimental, so it's hard to lock it down with any specific identity, but it has done that in a bunch of games. Well, that's what I mean. It's just like, I mean, I didn't mean anything about like kind of, you know. I'm not saying it's not, but I'm just saying, I guess it's part of the series now. It's something they added that just, it stuck. Like chocobos. It's really good that they're experimental. Is that new one supposed to be good? Because it looks cool. I like the aesthetic of Saga games. That's a real like anime-y, slightly chibi, but like I love the fucking their eyes. They have a very like particular look, and then the cell shading. I really like Emerald Beyond, but is Emerald Beyond the new one? Is that what it's called? think it is. Yeah, I love this look, dog. 2024. Oh shit, that is kind of recent. I guess story and presentation weren't really received well, but people dig the combat. It's a budget title, and it's not for everyone. Emerald Beyond is the newest original one, but I think the big remake of Romancing Saga 2 is newer. Is that the one that has like that 2D HD look to it? Here's some faded ancient writing. I wonder what it says. 614 star until the cycle ends. Even spiritual power unable to attain. Lost. Give birth to the Quanli under evil. Quanli existence filled with spiritual power. No, it's fully 3D. People love the remake. I haven't played it. I might be thinking about a different game then. Hey, we have to take the slab, right? Let's do it. All right, we got the slab. We're almost there. Oh. Oh, now what? Flame slab obtained. Let's get the fuck out of here then. Oh no, I already read it. I already read it. What's I talk to down here? Hey look, who's got the slab? This is the legendary elemental beast. It can't be a good sign if it's dead. Oh, is it? Oh shit, it's like a nice little dragon. Well now what? I got the slab. Do I leave? Do I go back to the save? Or are we done here? What do I do? What do you want from me? Yeah, I guess I can make a beeline for... Yeah, there's the exit. Guess we're good here. Damn, that's weird. The geostream is messed up here. It's only good for returning to Loka. Let's return then. Bitch. Oh, Boromir, no! Oh. Boromir went well. Well done, sir. Grandia Dean is waiting for you. Oh, shit. I'm gonna go talk to the others first. I shall go inform the others. Alright, I shall go save and go pee. Boromir is such a Chad. I like Boromir. He thought he was doing the right thing. Just see, I really think you should go. Well, let me fucking save first. His brother's great too. His brother is... Oh, is his brother the one that oh, the fucking actor's name? What's the character's name? I forgot about he had a brother. He's in the next one, right? Isn't he in Two Thrones? He's the guy from 300, isn't he? He was like the eye patch guy. Faramir! God damn it. Faramir actor. Yeah, it's that guy. Yeah. Oh, was he in 300? He was in yeah, Two Thrones, Return of the King. No, the actor. I'm sorry, I'm looking for the actor. No. David Wenham. Yeah, he's in 300. Yeah. The wrong kid. The one his daddy tries to burn on a pyre. Yeah. Faramir. That's funny. The wrong kid died, damn it. Yeah, dude, I wish Boromir got like one more book. All right, well, this is where I call it 1 a.m. Honestly, this Grandia Xtreme might be a good and bad thing for me because I think I'm gonna get through it sooner because you can't save, right? Once you start a dungeon, you get to hit a checkpoint and then you can fucking save, then you go back. Otherwise, you're redoing shit. I could do maybe a dungeon or two a stream, and we'll see how long that takes me. This game is supposedly about 50 hours. That was a joke. Wait, when I hear that, I think of the movie Walk Hard. The wrong kid died, damn it. He does say that in there, doesn't he? That was the joke. Yeah. That's funny. That's what I think of, because that's what he referenced. Dude, Lord of the Rings is so good. I don't know. It's been a long time since I actually like sat and watched it. I'm looking forward to my friend's movie night because he hasn't seen it. So we're gonna get drunk and watch Lord of the Rings. Great movies, great books. Yeah. The only so I read The Hobbit before I saw Lord of the Rings, which was nice, but I did see Fellowship of the Ring first, and then I read the book, and then I read Two Thrones, and I saw the movie, and then I never actually read Return of the King. I don't think I saw the movie. I read The Hobbit and then the first two Lord of the Rings. I never read Return of the King. Big fan. No, the movies are fucking great though. Oh dude, there's so many games I want to stream. Like now I want to play fucking Lord of the Rings games. You know? Oh dude, you gotta fucking play Demon Sword. Is fucking that website down yet? Demon Stone, not Sword. Demon Stone on PS2. I think they remastered it recently. Either that or it's coming out. It released in August of 2025. Dude, fucking play it. I think you'll like it. It's literally the same team that made the Lord of the Rings game. So if you like those, you'll love this. And it's in the Forgotten Realms universe. The movies leave out so much. I'll put it on my wish list. Yeah, do it. The movies leave out so much. It's not a bad thing. They did a great job adapting it, but getting the rest of the context in the books is awesome. I should go back. I mean, I'm still on my Stephen King kick. But yeah, I would like to go back and read those, especially since because even then, from what I read and saw in the movies, I was able to see different interpretations that aren't literal, you know, like the whole Eye of Sauron thing. That's more of a metaphor in the books, but I like how they made it like a physical presence in the movies. Like it's a cool translation of that idea. All right, it's over. All right. Yeah, it's a good touch. Yeah, exactly. And aesthetically, it fucking slaps. The big eye in the tower, you know? Lord of the Rings is cool. I'm gonna make a big push for that this weekend with my friends. Because he was like, oh, we could do Lord of the Rings or we could do Starship Troopers. And Starship Troopers being literally like my favorite movie. Me and my other friend, Bloody, he was with us. He also said Starship Troopers. So we saw that instead. But yeah, next movie night is fucking Fellowship of the Ring. We're gonna make it happen. Extended versions too. And dude, he has such a dope sound system. It's gonna go hard. All right, let's do this. Hello, I want to come over, man. You're invited. It's like is your car fixed? It's like a 5-hour drive. You can make it. Walk. Can you imagine walking from Arizona to Vegas? Who's live? No, it's not fixed. Yeah, I'm sorry. I said that as a joke, but it actually felt bad. That shit's fucking stressful as shit, dude. Who's live? I have a feeling all you guys are gonna go to bed after this, but let's see who we got. Grantastic's playing Ocarina of Time, a game I've never actually gotten too far into. We got Emmy Divergent. She is playing Have a good night. Yeah, man. All right, man. Peace out. I don't know what the hell she's doing. Creepy Shift? What's Creepy Shift? I like Cryptid Tato. She's nice though. So we're gonna rate her. She's playing some sort of spooky. I'm gonna go pee first of all, and then dude, it's 1 a.m. I might watch a movie. I don't know. I kind of watch like a horror movie and then go to bed. You know. Oh, all right. Because you changed your name. Did you watch War Machine? No, not yet. Is it horror? More of an action sci-fi, right? That's what on Netflix. I could watch War Machine maybe. We'll do War Machine. Action sci-fi. But I want to watch a horror. Watch it now. Maybe. There's like, honestly, I would say there's a 50-50 chance. 50-50 chance. No, do it now. Do it now. I'll think about it. Let me pee and see how I feel. But bye. We're raiding out. I'm gonna watch something. I'll let you know in Jay's stream. Or are you streaming tomorrow? If you stream and if I catch it, we could talk about whatever I see. But peace out, bros. Bye bye.